Yeah, 200 plus. What about like 120 plus over 2 hours? How's that?
What's the TI record actually?
It's
definitely over 100. But I can't remember if
earlier.
I think it was last year. Yeah. I remember there was one.
I thought it was TI3.
TI3, yeah. The longest TI game was.
Was it the game where with DK versus another team?
It was DK because it was
DK
with burning. It was with burning in that game, and it was really
10-slot Lone Druid.
It almost actually got to the dream where you actually have 12 slots on Lone Druid. It was really close to that.
Yeah, that's a goal to look forward to.
Yeah, we used to talk about it. Okay, they have Lone Druid. In case the game goes long enough, you have 12 slots.
All right, let's not give the players any ideas, right? Like trying to set their own little records. Like I had the 12 slot Lone Druid. But yeah, so far, I mean, we keep mentioning it, but less than even day one. Sure, if we count wildcard plans, a day and a half, but already just wide diverse play in terms of action, whether it's different styles, different heroes. So that's been pretty exciting. I mean, obviously for you guys have been at multiple TIs by now. How does it compare so far just from the kickstart?
That's a pretty broad question.
Yeah, I mean, but in terms of the gameplay, right? Not what kind of food you've been eating or how much sleep you've been getting.
I mean, the hero diversity is definitely something that's improved a lot. It used to be maybe around 20, 30 heroes, maybe 40. I mean, back at TI2, it's around there. And right now, it's mostly, I think, almost every hero close to every hero, you can actually try. I mean, it's legit to pick the hero if you have a right strategy behind it. So, like, we have come to the day where Takis is,
That's true.
So
as terrible as that might be for some people.
I actually expected a lot more like heavy committed pushing strategies with like Dragon Knight, maybe the occasional Pugna, even Chen like now and then, but that's been way less than I expected. And a lot more, maybe because it's a lot more Gyrocopter has been picked than I expected.
Think a lot of prioritization has gone into fighting. Like that's why Bounty Hunter has been in contention of first pick and first phase ban as well in a lot of the games. Teams are worried that in case we get into a lot of skirmish, a lot of fighting, we don't want to fight against Bounty Hunter.
No. And actually, we're seeing the picks right now for Stream 2. That's MVP Hot 6 versus CDEC. They're just going into their very first game. And Pugna's right there. Disruptor, we saw that yesterday, but haven't seen it today, I don't think. And then the Phoenix coming out too for CDEC. So a couple more heroes to add to the list. And again, if you want to check that out, if those are maybe matchups that interest you, or if you're just interested in CDEC versus MVP Hot 6, definitely go over to Stream 2. Right now, we are waiting for Empire versus Vici here on Stream 1. And then EG, of course, playing their second game against Newbie on Stream 3. So many streams, so many matches.
Newbie's won 2 games out of 3 so far. That is very surprising.
That's true, yeah.
They went 1-1 versus Virtus Pro. And the second game was actually a pretty convincing win by Newbie. And then they dominated EG in the first game.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's mention that, right? It's not just that they beat EG in game 1, but the style they won in was very convincing. It was like most people are expecting, okay, maybe Newbie not going to be that strong this TI. We're looking at the picks here going into their game 2, it looks like, against EG, but Newbie just dominated EG in game 1. What are we looking at here for game 2? Are we seeing any changes for EG going up against Newbie?
Looks like EG are just trying to give away Lesh and beat it. They're doing it again.
Right.
And they're picking their Clinks again.
Yeah,
so maybe
Clinks,
that's their go-to hero for countering Lesh. They have a more well-rounded.
They have Clinks again against Lash. And they have a lot of bursts with their heroes to kill Lash. I mean, maybe they have a plan.
It's definitely a more well-rounded lineup for EG.
Yeah, it's much better than the previous game where, like Ben mentioned, you try not to have too many heroes that use Invis in a same team,
No, if you're a different team though, like watching EG's games and you realize, okay, EG's whether they're trying to or they've practiced a lot giving Lesh out and they're trying to make this a thing for TI5. Are you really worried about that? And are you going to get scared? Because in my head, right, if you're a strategist, you're EG, you're like, the only reason you would do that is to later mind game them and maybe get Lesh yourself.
I think he's just underestimated Newbie. I remember last year he showed that he had a full game plan versus DK, and they ended up beating DK, and DK were favorites to go at least, I would say, top 2 TI. So I think that he does his homework. It's very clear that PPD knows almost every matchup that he's up against and has studied for multiple hours and multiple replays. But versus Newbie, they don't have any games in the past couple months. And on top of that, no one actually viewed them as even a remote threat.
Right.
So I think he's just whatever, we'll give them less. They probably, aren't, we don't know how much they practice with. I mean, how many teams are actually really versed with Leshrac because he's almost banned
all the time.
So I think it's just a little bit underestimating them. It's not a good way to start off your first match. But EG also has typical, poor group stage day 1. It's a curse.
Yeah, well, that, those things are real, right? You have these habits for whatever reason, whether it's because of just your attitude or maybe just people getting used to the environment whenever they come to big tournaments on day one. Yeah, those things are definitely true. Some people just perform better in group stages. We've talked about that before. But now it looks like Empire versus Vici Gaming is ready. So again, I mean, if you want to find out if Vici can make that work in Game 2, and hey, if they win that time, right, a lot of what we talked about maybe is going to change a little bit. So head over to Stream 3. For EG versus Newbie on Stream 2, it will be CDEC versus MVP Hot 6 in their first game of the best of 2. And here, we're about to go into Game 1 of Empire versus Vici Gaming. Empire, their first game here at TI5. And same with Vici Gaming, so this is a pretty important start for both teams. Also in Group B, we haven't had many matches yet, so we just saw what happened in Group A, right? LGD goes 2-0 on day one. They're already in the lead. They're feeling pretty good. They simply need to 2-0 two other teams. Not that that's easy. Easier said than done. But if they do that, they're feeling solid going into the main stage.
I think if they get one more 2-0, they're almost guaranteed top 4. If
top
not 100%
4, yes.
Guaranteed top 4. Which is
yeah,
great.
We
That's a winner
the
bracket
math,
start. That's the number one step for every team, is to start in the winner bracket. And that's why, for me, this matchup is really important as well, because it's a huge difference for these two teams in this particular matchup, whether they get a draw or a 2-0. Not because it's not important in other matchups. When it's two top teams that meet each other, getting a 2-0 gets you a really big head start in closing in on that top 4.
That is true.
So I would definitely say this is the kind of game where you don't start off easy in the group stage here. You're playing a juggernaut. You bring your best.
For some reason, I agree with Winter that I think it's going to be a 2-0 one way or the other. I think it's like 50-50 going in, but I think that one of these teams is like probably considerably stronger than the other, but I just don't know which. And it's for some reason I don't think it's going to be a split.
Okay, what about you, Winter? I mean, you look like you're kind of doubting yourself now that Ben's agreeing with you. It's a scary thing, I know.
It is.
Well, I still think it's very difficult to say because we do a lot of predictions based on what we see, and right now we have zero material. So
what do you think?
Fair point. Me? Well, to be very fair, I actually think we're going to see a 2-0.
You think it's 2-0?
One way or the other.
I'm definitely sticking with 1-1.
he has that cheeky grin and he's like,
I should have said 1-1 just to make him sure.
what do you think, Will?
Was that too obvious?
I mean, just given what I've reviewed and listening to you guys just talk right now, it actually does sound a lot more than anything that whichever team wins the first game, like they're just going to feel a lot better. They're going to have more confidence in their drafting even going into Game 2. And we haven't really seen that so far, right? Because we've focused a lot on how do you adapt, and we've seen teams trying to do that. But I feel like in this matchup, whoever wins is just going to go in even more confidently into the draft and Game 2. So we'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah.
I can't wait till it's
I think it's more up to Vici. Like Vici could be really good or just flop.
I mean, to be fair, you were the only one out of all of us who predicted the exact outcome of the wild card.
That
so
is
you
true.
Kind of
CDEC and then MVP Phoenix.
You have the foresight.
MVP my boys.
I should actually trust in your
Blind faith.
Right? Newbie luck. That's where I
actually can't resist. You just have to do it.
All right. Well, Empire versus Vici. They're all wrapping up. The players look pretty happy and ready to get into games. So I'm sure just going through a couple last-minute checks, making sure they have all of their stuff set up. Looks like the refs are double-checking before we jump into the draft. And Vici looks a little bit more solemn. Empire looks pretty happy and just excited to get into game. I mean, of course, these guys, at this point here, we're at, a little past 6 p.m. on Pacific time in Seattle. So they've been up for a little bit. Even if you wake up later for your matches, you've had a couple meals for sure. And you've been most likely watching the other games. Yeah, I saw Empire actually watching a couple of the last matches, getting ready for their games. So I'm sure they're pretty eager to get their first showing on TI5, show their fans what they've prepared for this next 2 weeks.
We were here a few days before the event, and of most of the teams, I don't think I saw any of these 10 players aside from Ice. And a lot of the teams I saw running around here and there. So I assume they were just practicing nonstop for the past few days.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to our makeup artists, and of course, they don't know the players that well, so they're talking to them. Oh, how is the event so far? How's your preparation? And one of them was telling me they were very impressed because they were like, hey, so have you had a chance to meet any of your other friends, or how are you liking Seattle? And they're like, I've literally been in my room, in our practice room, practicing, and then just coming out for meals, and then practicing, and then going back to my hotel room to sleep. So yeah, this is what it means. I mean, we heard Sumail, we heard No Tail talk about it, we've heard other players talk about it so far, saying TI is where it matters. You can win all the other tournaments, but at the end of each year, what do people remember? Oh, TI, what a great event, and who the winner was, right? The greatest games, or even if it's not the most exciting games, people will always remember the finals because that's where you deem the champion of that year. Coming in 2015, who's going to be the Dota 2 champion, the best team in the world, and you can't forget the massive prize pool, of course. So a lot on the line, and it all starts today in day one with the group stages. The best of two, the point system, it's going to matter a lot, and we are finally in the drafting phase for Empire versus Vici Gaming. So we've talked a lot about it so far. We'll find out if anything we talked about really pans out, or if we're all going to be surprised. And usually that's a pleasant surprise for sure if people bring out some pocket picks.
It always surprises me when you go into a draft like this. You have prepared for this match. Okay, they're just using, maybe it's a team mentality thing that they use all their time before extra time.
Right.
Because I was like, you go into this matchup, you thought about it all day, you know you're playing, you probably know what pick order there is. How can you possibly need extra time on your first ban? And they actually just let the timer go down to exactly 0 and then they ban. So
I kind of
might just make
I kind of like that though, using all your time except extra time to make sure that you're still talking, thinking things through.
Shows you how important this match is.
There you go. I mean, first game does matter a lot. First game of a whole tournament. Sometimes you look back on that.
No bounty hunter this game.
Ooh, and no one dying either.
Queen of Pain.
Queen of Pain is open. You're correct.
I mean, giving away Shadow Fiend.
Queen of Pain, yeah, Shadow Fiend Radiance.
Shadow
yes.
Fiend's true.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
It's a difficult position if you're Empire.
Gyro's also open.
I don't think Gyro's as high priority as those two.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
If you have those, you probably want to grab. I think Queen would be the most flexible among the three. I'd say, like, you can lane the Queen, safe lane, solo mid, off lane. So yeah, Queen is the most flexible of all the three.
I think what they might be considering is if they pick any of the two others, like Shadow Fiend Gyro, if you were to pick 2 out of 3, that might be the weakest duo, because Quap works better together with the two
Yeah.
others.
Right.
So maybe grabbing Quap will make Vici not pick both Shadow
Oh.
Fiend Gyro and they can grab the other one. There we go.
Okay.
So now they
Rubik
could get
and
SFs.
Okay. Rubik Gyro.
So they have
Classic
the,
Vici Gaming early pick Rubik.
Yeah, it's Look, who's drafting? F1 is drafting again, so expected. He's picking his own trump card first.
all right.
Are they going to pick a heavy support roaming duo? Like
when
Rubik
you
plus
talk
Lina,
about
Rubik.
when you talk about Vici Gaming, it's always like Rubik Lina, Rubik plus one. Like it used to be Rubik Lina or Rubik Lash, but obviously now you can't do Lash.
Rubik Chen, I suppose.
That's not happening anymore.
But yeah, there
Vici played Lash
there
before, it
aren't
was
that
cool.
many options, like aside from Lina.
True.
Not versus a Queen of Pain. that is.
Right.
Mirana?
There's still the classic Rubik plus Chen, but it's
Yeah.
long gone.
Well, Dazzle's always been pretty prominent so far in this first day and a half here. Broodmother, second phase, ban. There you go. That's out of the question.
Good.
Does Empire have to ban Shadow Fiend in the next ban?
I don't think so. It
I
depends
mean,
on how.
but if you give like Shadow Fiend and Gyro to the opponent, it's a lot of pressure because those two together as cores, they are very strong late game, and it might get too difficult to cope if you can't end the game early. And looking at all the games today, it seems like teams have been trying really hard to finish the game, but they can't. So yeah, it could be a problem if the game drags on too long. Shadow Fiend plus Gyro, both very strong in the early game and very strong in late game as well.
All right. Well, we're still waiting on Vici, of course, to go through their ban before we find out if Empire still wants to block that out, or if they've just got different plans. Maybe they don't expect, as you mentioned earlier, if they were going to pick 2 out of the 3, SF and Gyro are not the strongest of the 3 combinations, so maybe they won't even pick that.
Maybe if they want to give away the SF, then they go for like a very aggressive ganking heroes, like maybe Spiritbreaker plus Quap. Then you can pressure the Shadow Fiend a lot in the early phase and hopefully get a couple of kills on him. If you want to give it away, you probably have a plan ready anyways.
Right.
That might be one of the few solutions.